out how the warding and the decision-making will play out. Tom Kench is on the bench. Fnatic may have learned their lesson.
Yeah, Shen Ban as well. Gorilla played it obviously earlier in the quarterfinals. We've seen it from Yellowstar. And KOO Tigers, as a team, in 7 out of 10 games here at Worlds, they've banned Mordekaiser and Lulu. So even on blue side, they're very often banned the Mordekaiser, so no surprise so far. They stick to what we consider the OPs in Mordekaiser and Gangplank.
Yeah, now we have to track the power picks. Elise is probably the final one. There
Rek'Sai
it goes.
first pick.
And Rek'Sai means the first pick. Honestly, from the last quarterfinals, I didn't see that much value in the Rek'Sai first pick.
So the risk always for these teams with the Rek'Sai first pick is obviously what is the gap between Rek'Sai and the next best jungler. In this sense, like Lee Sin is not a great matchup into Rek'Sai, but a confident player might take it anyway and just dodge around the Rek'Sai, and you can still have a very active early game. KOO Tigers get 2 very, very good picks, especially Alistar. I think is a key takeaway from Yellowstar, because Yellowstar uses him to have the safe lane. Always just sit back, you can't really dive the Alistar, you can always heal up his AD carry, and Fnatic has that 2v2 lane with 0 jungle help. KOO Tigers steal that away and get a very strong 2v2 lane.
Now, with that being said, I do like Reignover on Rek'Sai, so not being able to give it over Hojin. I feel like Hojin will now go with Lee Sin, even though it's not a great matchup. Also, the analyst tests touch on the Ashe versus Kennen trades that could be happening in this series. Well, if you're going to leave Kalista up, Prey's just going to take that. Maybe we end up seeing Kennen or the Ashe from Reckless if they take away their picks.
I would almost prefer Ashe here. I think Ashe is really good into Kalista for the laning phase itself. And now that we have 2 dual lanes, doesn't get much help. Having a stronger one can be very, very important. Okay.
And gentlemen,
we're going back in time a little bit.
Is this going to be support Nautilus here? We know Huni's not a predominant tank player, and looking at how Yellowstar's champion pool's been hit, not only with the bans, but also with the takeaway of that Alistar, I almost feel like that's the direction it's going to go.
Definitely going to expect it to be support for him. Kalista is one of these AD carries. If you do manage to lock her down, obviously she's very easy to kill. If she gets to kite back, she becomes a problem. Nautilus ulti says you're not going anywhere. At some point it will hit her. And then Fnatic, if they have more champions who can dive the backline, which we often see from Huni, that's a good way to set up a way to kill the AD carry.
It is a throwback to when Kalista was first kind of on the competitive scene. Take as many champions as possible that can press one button on Kalista and stop her from hopping around so damn much.
The thing is still, the 2v2 lane for Fnatic with this Kennen.
Whoa!
I'm not a fan of it. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 new champions. Zac has been locked in. Kobe was making jokes about the engage potential on his elastic slingshot.
Well,
Deficio, you're shaking your head.
It's been buffed since Zingy was so dominant with it in the North American LCS, Deficio.
I was sitting down and having a nice dinner with Kobe. And obviously, as always, we talk about the game. We talked about Zac.
We were tracking Hojin's solo queue as well. There were Jungle Zac games.
5 days ago.
There were Jungle Zac games on the solo queue accounts of the KOO Tigers.
But the thing about this pick here now, early game, it's obviously not the greatest. You're not going to skirmish the Rek'Sai 1v1. You want to still scale up, get your Cinderhawk, get to level 6, and then your team fighting presence is fantastic. And then the ways you can gank as a Zac, it changes the whole warding pattern for a team, because it's no longer just warding the river. Zac will sit in his Raptor camp, like max rank E, and he will just fly into the mid lane.
Yeah, as far as Zac's best lane to gank, it actually is mid lane, because it violates the standard wards you would see in that mid lane. This is what Huni picked into Riven, game 1 of Worlds, into IG, and he smashed with it. So this is his considered counter pick against the Riven.
Yeah, and the reason he picked it was because on Hecarim, you can rush Frozen Heart early on. Riven doesn't really have any kill pressure on you once that item is completed, and you start playing around team fights and flanking instead with Hecarim. So look here what Fnatic has been building. Nautilus is going to activate his ulti onto the Kalista, then Hecarim is going to fly in from the flank. That's 2 guys that will smack down Kalista. Very, very effective. And KOO Tigers, they don't care about wave clear apparently in this game.
If KOO fall behind, they are in so much trouble.
Well, this is what you would call, probably would call a fight comp. What Korean caster Cloud Templar would call, I think, sword.
Spear comp.
Spear comp, sorry. I messed that one up. But it is absolutely, if Fnatic tries to siege, they die. But then you look at Fnatic, they actually don't want to siege
It's a fight comp as well.
Both of these guys are going to be clashing into each other. This is not your wave clear game.
We're going to have a ton of team fights. And the thing about Febvin, he often doesn't take teleport in the mid lane. So against a Kassadin, he's looking to have more kill pressure in the lane, 1v1, but he will sacrifice the later stages of the game when it comes to 1-3-1ing as a Kassadin with teleport. So Fnatic is often down 1 global summoner. And if KOO Tigers can get towards that late game, that can be very key with this Kassadin.
And this early game is going to be so important for both teams. If you can get ahead with a spear comp, and stay ahead through fights.
You can poke
That's how
through
you
pretty
close
effective.
this out. So for Reignover on this Rek'Sai, gonna have some work cut out for him if he wants to go up and give either Huni or Feathervin some advantage, which is what we've seen time and time again from Fnatic and Reignover's pathing.
Yeah, this champ select as well, I feel like, was pretty heavy on the counter picks. Huni thinks Hecarim is a counter to Riven, and Kassadin actually is very good against LeBlanc. One of the champions that can actually beat him, her in lane, rather.
And we're going to need to see how Kuro is going to handle it. Kassadin is locked in. Zach is locked in for the first time at the 2015 League of Legends World Championship. Guys, you know the deal. Jump on Twitter and vote for who you think will advance to Berlin for the chance to battle SKT. Hashtag Fnatic win or hashtag KOO win. 74 unique champions now as the games continue to play out, and as the analyst desk predicted, it's Hojin with the weird and wonderful jungle pick.
Well, even if we think back to the last World Championship, something about the finals brings out weird jungler picks. Insect played Fiddlesticks and Pantheon last year in the semifinals.
Well, he had some special picks for sure, but this obviously is also because Gragas has been removed, so that pool of junglers is now wide open for who is the third best jungler after Rek'Sai and Elise. And you can very often bait that first pick, so KOO definitely knew what they were doing. When they said, you're gonna get Rek'Sai, it's perfectly fine. We're not looking to fight you early on anyway, but a Kassadin pre-level 6 against a LeBlanc here with an offensive summoner and a Rek'Sai. Fnatic can go towards that mid lane very easily.
Speaking about that mid lane, Kuro will be pushed in, and also Zach is a low pressure early game jungler if his first gank doesn't work. So Zach's level 3 or level 4 gank is actually pretty potent, but after that he gets fairly weak. It will be about Hojin's first gank and whether or not Feathervin and Reignover take the aggressive paths into the jungle of KOO.
And technically speaking, statistically, throughout the course of the tournament, Fnatic have been the gods of first blood. All 9 of their games, they've been able to secure that. And it has been either Feathervin or Huni that's been involved.
Yeah, there's been some help with that as well. The one game they didn't get first blood
was
remade.
It was
because of the
remade.
Gragas bug. So it still counts 100%.
Officially, anyway.
Officially 100%.
Yeah, that's the best kind of correct. But
Yes.
no funny business as far as lanes are concerned. It does look like Praying Gorilla are near top, so lane swap initiated by KOO.
I mean, we have to see with KOO Tigers. We mentioned how in the group stages they were super aggressive, making so many plays early on, and then against KT they were sitting back. Kills at 20 minutes in group stage for KOO Tigers over 6 games were 51. 4 games against KT in the quarterfinals at 20 minutes, they had 12 kills. They gotten only 5 towers as well in all 4 games. They were sitting so far back enough. You can't do that here, because then Fnatic will invade into your jungle, find that Zac and pressure you too much.
Well, this is going to be really tricky for KOO Tigers because Kassadin and Zac don't have too much early game presence. How will Gorilla roam around? How will that work against the Nautilus? And specifically, I think the most important matchup right now, since they are both melees in the top lane that will eventually face each other, is Smeb or Huni. Which one will get the favorable lane swap?
Interesting start to the swap. Both
It's completely mirrored.
Yeah, both teams are starting in their own jungle with their top laner, getting the camps, getting the blue buff. So there's nothing really now to take for the enemy once they go to that side of the map. Normally we divide it up, but they've been able to farm on the normal sides.
I specifically like this because these are very competent turret diving team compositions on both sides. So if you were hoping to babysit one of these top laners under a turret, you're either going to completely deny yourself a farm or get killed. So therefore, doing an extended double jungle is favorable.
So Fnatic hard pushed in the bottom lane to try and reset the wave and get it back here for Huni once he returns to this, or once he goes down to this bottom side, and then swap up top lane. But KOO Tigers is reading that situation because they didn't see anyone on the bottom side once the wave hit the tower. So they know, okay, Fnatic is recalling. Why? Because they want to swap top. We do not want to 2v2 them right now, apparently. So we're going to try and swap back to the bottom side. Seems like they're making
Change their mind.
a little change for them.
So who won that trade actually? Because Huni didn't hit level 3, but Smeb did from the jungle as well as catching that wave. So Smeb has about a third of a level experience with that early on.
And Reignover has already found Kuro. Feathervin's going to connect with the chains and get a good amount of damage down. That will give some control to Feathervin, but still sustain on the side of Kuro.
Well, it's what we talked about, how Fnatic can look to try and gank this mid lane early on. Didn't get a flash though. Kuro stood very, very far back. For Huni, he's not necessarily looking to out-trade Smeb. He wants to just try and farm up as much as possible, get that first armor item under his belt, and then he's gonna be safe enough and start making plays with his team. he's not going to get that same lead he got in the week 1 where he played this matchup and he was like so far ahead just from the lane swap.
Reinover spending quite a bit of time in this mid lane. Get to leave after that gank earlier, and Huni gonna get caught by all 3 procs of the broken wings, trying to sustain as best he can and get some damage back, but advantage Smeb.
Keep in mind, Smeb went back to base as well, so he has a long sword where Huni's still sitting on Flask.
And as long as Huni doesn't die before he goes back to base, he can come back with an advantage. I think Huni's waiting to buy multiple items, then we'll teleport in. So I actually expect Smeb and Huni to have different teleport timers, and that will actually lead to different power spikes within that lane.
Reino is back in the mid lane, though. He should know there's so many wards. He normally doesn't care about wards at all. He just ignores it and goes for the gank anyway, and that opens up for a guy like Hojin, who's very good at counter ganking, to try and respond if they go too aggressive on Koro.
Yeah, but we also have to remember, it's a 1-level disadvantage, and it's a Zac. If he doesn't land his elastic slingshot, he's got nothing. 33 CS to 16, not the best time to be spamming your flare.
I mean, this is so annoying for Koro because, yes, he can see the enemy jungler and he won't die to it, but it still stops him from getting any farm because he has to sit so far back whenever Reinover shows himself near the mid lane. Fibbivin is running Flask, so he can sustain from this, but not the greatest trade ever from him.
No, we did see him threading the needle on LeBlanc earlier in the tournament, dodging those tower shots, but didn't manage to pull it off this time, and Reinover's going to steal that Gromp away. A little bit of a threat to dive, but no onslaught of shadows, and Flash was up for Smeb, so risky business.
So far this early game is playing to the tendencies of the teams, as well as the players, as well as the champions. So much is as expected. Reinover loves to be in the enemy jungler. Rek'Sai is also a great counter jungler because of Tremor Sense, and Zac has to be very passive in his own jungle early, as well as Hojin, statistically, has spent most of his time in his own jungle, whereas Reinover has spent more time in the enemy jungler than anyone else early on in the game.
It's paid off for Fnatic so far. Riptide comes out from Yellowstar, good stun onto Gorilla. Pulverize comes down, but Yellowstar and Gorilla both leaving with most of their HP bars gone. Yellowstar's running Ignite, Febbivin's Ignite, Huni's Ignite. Fnatic want to send a signal, they're looking for kills.
Very much looking to try and get something going in the early game, but the thing also about these two teams, a lot of them talk about Yellowstar and Gorilla as roaming supports, and they are outside the laning phase. Very often they will sit together with that AD carry and lane and try and get an advantage. Hojin is going in.
Well,
flash.
Respect. Dredgeline to re-engage. Yellowstar's got the Titan's Wrath shield. That's not going to miss any of his HP, so they come away losing a flash and heal.
Yeah, I really have to praise Yellowstar's reaction time. As soon as he saw Zac over the wall, he instantly flashed, and that really goes to show how little respect you have for Zac after he's used his elastic slingshot, because Yellowstar very freely went back in. All of the damage, as well as the mobility of Zac early game, is channeled into that one spell.
Yeah, it's the one you max early on, so you barely any ranks in anything else, and your ulti, it's okay, but it's not the greatest damage either. It's gonna be a big team fighting monster on this Zac, but his team has to avoid falling behind. They're down 1,000 gold already at 7 minutes because mid lane is being won by Fnatic. Bottom lane is being won by Fnatic. We have the early Frozen Heart that Huni's building towards. We talked about how he can now safely sit and just always push out this wave and then start roaming around into the enemy jungle, look for that Zac who can't really challenge you, and keep that pressure going.
And a big CS difference as well between Reinover and Hojin. Hojin needs to get to 6 to add to that ganking presence. He's got the lowest CSD of all junglers in the quarterfinal, or the bracket stage rather. And naturally, the matchup, the weakness of the early game on Zac is all playing into that disparity.
This is very similar to the performance we saw out of KOO in the bracket stage.
Oh, the Dredgeline finds prey. Headbutt will knock Reckless away. 200 HP, Summoner Heal used. Prey's gonna be able to stay alive, but they get the engage in the Summoner spell.
And one thing about these Kennen lanes, when you have a support with him that adds CC, it becomes so easy for you to trade when you have that mark ready, to get the first mark on the target, to quickly proc it and get the stun. Because you can see how they're timing it. Reckless says, I have 5 stacks, I'm ready. Yellowstar goes aggressive, hooks the guy in, you land the first auto attack, you then proc the whole thing, you stun him, and you win the 2v2 trade very easily.
Fnatic is demolishing KOO right now in map pressure. The top lane was safe because they didn't think Hojin was going to be ganking back. They got some very favorable trades. They also hit level 6 before the Kalista and the Alistar. Hojin's still not level 6. Reinover has been stealing his jungle. Literally every lane is going favorable for Fnatic right now.
Let's remember that KOO Tigers recalled from topside with the 2v2 lane and said, we're gonna go bot lane. Then they're like, no, wait, we will go top and take the 2v2 lane. They've been losing that 2v2 lane. They lost that tower. They're not winning one-on-one bot lane either. They haven't managed to do anything in the early game and they could even decide which lanes they wanted to take, or if they wanted to keep the lane swap going to try and maybe avoid some of these risky lanes.
And this will be the answer to our question of whether KOO sitting back with defensive wards can lead to victory against all these teams that aren't SKT, because it worked against KT Rolster technically, because they did win the series thanks to some poor decisions and good team fighting from KOO. Kassadin, if Kuro gets the item build going 3 or 4 items, is a better champion than LeBlanc at that stage in the game. Kassadin can just go at LeBlanc and kill her, but they're so far behind here and have no presence within their own jungle.
Oh, the gods of first blood wish to decree Smeb, the sacrificial top laner, to reign over and Huni.
That is naturally what's going to happen. Smeb goes up to the turret without good defensive wards, no turret behind him, and that's exactly when Reignover is going to be there. Whether or not there are wards there, that is the play Reignover should make 90 times out of 100. And Smeb didn't even see it coming, which is perplexing to say the least.
Again, it's also this Hecarim pick who can run Ignite in the lane, so he's very strong in the one-on-ones and the 2v2s. So Reignover, even if Hojin is there to counter gank him, he doesn't care. You have no damage on the Zac, you have no power here. He's gonna win that 2v2, and then suddenly Fnatic can use that to snowball Smeb right now, and the rest of KOO Tigers, they need to step up their game, otherwise they will fall even further behind.
It's a 1,500 gold difference, and that Frozen Heart's completed. Gentlemen, Fnatic like to teleport bottom, and they have it available. It's already being channeled from Huni. Yellowstar may get dropped low as Hojin gets knocked up in the air. First kill for KOO. Now Huni's looking to get one back. The slicing Maelstrom will not be enough. Double kill for Smeb's Riven. Onslaught of Shadow splits everyone from KOO away.
Febiven's coming!
2 for 1. Febiven wants to clean up. It's a triple for Smeb. Will he get more? That's 1 for Febiven. He's got the shutdown. Turns on to Prey as Reignover finds some more. Farming is the power. They trade 4 for 2 or 3. It was messy.
It was an absolute bloodbath right there. 4 for 3. But the big thing we have to pay attention to is the kill distribution. Reignover got 4 of those kills, but Smeb got 3.
So KOO Tigers at least get kills on the right target, but Fnatic, they were the ones reacting first with teleport for both teams. They come down here, Hojin pulls off a gank on the bottom side, no flash from Yellowstar, so he's returning to the lane, and we can see how everyone now is trying to move, but because Febiven is not running teleport, he has to move all the way down the river, so he joins extremely late, and that's why KOO Tigers can get at least 3 kills on Smeb. Very important for them if they can start winning that 1v1.
Huni landed a really huge ultimate there because he didn't actually have to use that when they killed Smeb. And I do have to credit KOO here for the way they retreated through the Tribe Rush. Otherwise, Febiven gets every single one of these kills. I thought Febiven was going to get a triple kill here, and it's actually really unfortunate for Fnatic that LeBlanc didn't get those early kills, and instead they went on to Reignover. Reignover will be a nearly unkillable tank for this game, but against Kalista, eventually Kalista can kill him.
Right now, almost every single flash is down after that massive fight in the bottom, and Yellowstar has his ready. Didn't have it for the fight. Hojin as well didn't get to use it at all. So the following minutes, because Fnatic is having the map control, because Fnatic is dictating the laning phase, they should be able to use the fact that KOO is out of flashes to force fights. Use Reignover again. He's level 9 to level 7 of Hojin. 29, he has 30 now for Hojin only. He's getting nothing. Reignover needs to keep being aggressive.
And he needs to keep up his efficiency and go pretty much wherever he wants. He currently has a 2,150 gold lead against Hojin. At 12.5 minutes, he is as far ahead as any jungler has been ahead so far at Worlds here. But at the same time, Huni was pushing up top, so KOO Tigers might get a free dragon. Will Fnatic contest with a numbers disadvantage?
There's no teleport for Huni. Dragon's going low.
They want to.
1,000 HP. KOO look to secure this. They've got Ren stacks and Smite. They will take it out with the Ren. Kuro's jumped onto Yellowstar. Dredge line is used. Fnatic have split up the fight. Here comes Huni. Onslaught is available. He throws it in, but it's not good enough. KOO have got 2. LeBlanc will find one back as Febiven's trying to clean up. He's looking for Zac. Hojin's cell division will not be available. This is another messy fight. It's these spear comps going head to head. Huni is tanky enough for days. He's rampaging and running down the KOO Tigers. Gorilla is in trouble. 100 hit points. Rampage and one more is all that's needed. Huni's gonna stand for the top. Gorilla, he boots them away with the headbutt. Febiven is still chasing. Low on mana, gets the kill. But KOO got the dragon.
It's another messy team fight where Fnatic, they want to fight it, but they don't have a teleport ready, so they have to run down with their members. They were staying around. Yellowstar were trying to bait, maybe force KOO Tigers to stay, and they just jump him. They kill him very early. Notice here how Yellowstar is very, very far forward, trying to just get a fight started.
This was really messy, but ultimately KOO made the right decision. Whenever you're trying to get pincered, you commit hard to one side. KOO gets the advantage there by killing Yellowstar, but in doing so, it gives Huni enough time to come down and join this fight. This time, though, during the cleanup, it was Febiven who picked up the kills. It is now a 4-kill LeBlanc, and the next time that happens, he will have a little bit more to say about the fight.
And we just saw the mid tower fall. What so often happens when you play Kassadin is you need strong side lanes. Because strong side lanes means the other team can just go mid lane and group on your Kassadin with no wave clear and take your mid tower. But these side lanes for KOO Tigers, they've been losing in the lane. Outside of those kills Smeb got in the team fight, he's not been able to do anything. So Fnatic group mid, took a free tower.
And we always say, Deficio, the side lanes oftentimes turn into 1v2 lanes because of the jungler presence. But with this Zac pick, combined with the Kassadin pick, they're already weak in the mid lane, and the jungler cannot lend as much assistance as you would like to the side lane. Hojin being shut down has crippled most of this. It's crippled the weak point that already was there.
And we simply just see a very, very greedy comp for KOO Tigers in the sense to have Kassadin and Zac. Because again, when it comes to invading into the enemy jungle, pushing mid lane is the #1 priority, because it means you have 2 entrants you can move in, and your mid laner can move first and help you in case there's a 2v2 fight going on. Kassadin can't do anything against the LeBlanc early on when it comes to pushing, so he gets pushed into his tower. Zac can't do anything 1v1 against the Rek'Sai. So Fnatic had an easy 2v2 skirmish. They could always just win the mid lane and move into that jungle, look for the Zac over and over, and they've been doing it, and that's why they're ahead in gold.
And a lot of gold at that. 5,000 as we hit the 16-minute mark. Thanks to the towers and the kills. And Huni's teleport is now up and available. You guys have talked about how Fnatic want to look for fights. If KOO decide to engage, look at your mini-map. Fnatic are starting to surround KOO under this tower.
Yeah, this is looking to be a dive, but all teleports are up for KOO, so this could turn into a 5v5.
Gorilla's already gone low. The depth charge has been thrown out. Fate's Call has been used as well. Reignover is in a lot of trouble. He's not tanky enough to survive under the tower. Onslaught will keep KOO together. Huni continues to tank the tower. Fnatic have overreached, overbitten, and KOO have struck back. Reckless is down to 200, flashed away. The Smeb is looking for at least one more. That's a triple for Kuro. Kassadin has been activated, and that lead is shrinking.
How real is the KOO Tigers magic? 6,000 gold deficit in the mid game against KT Rolster. 5,000 deficit here, but Fnatic overcommits on a bad play. A 5v5 in the enemy turret is almost never a good idea. They were not tracking the teleports, and Reignover got trapped underneath the turret. So again, KOO actually find the fight they need, and a triple kill on a Kassadin is massive as far as their chances to come back in this game.
KOO Tigers is a team who's very good at reading where the aggressive plays are going to happen and have guys ready in time to respond.
They were so ready for that play.
But Fnatic, I feel, had every chance to back away from this one. Reignover flashed back in on the tower once he saw Alistar got pulled in by Kalista. Why would you ever do that to an Alistar with ulti, who's also getting Fates called in by Kalista? Look here, look again, look again. Fnatic goes in, they realize very quickly the KOO Tigers are ready, so look at Reignover. Now he can just back away.
Disengage.
Why would you
burn
flash?
both TPs, but at the same time, the play was called. Huni's teleporting in onto the Rek'Sai tunnel. They all commit under the turret, but it is stuffed by KOO Tigers when they're walking in here. They were ready to play, I think, a huge mistake by Fnatic. But that is the type of mistake that gets KOO back in the game.
I don't mind the call, but once you see that Hojin is waiting down there and double TP comes in instantly, you just disengage. Huni cancels his TP, Reignover flashes away from the tower, not into the tower, and suddenly Fnatic gets out of this one, maybe lose at maximum 1 member, or blows 2 teleports, and it wasn't the end of the world. Now they just gave KOO Tigers a way back into this game.
Yeah, that gold lead has shrunk significantly. Dragon's up in less than a minute. We'll need to see if KOO want to put some more priority on that. Vision around the pit is still relatively good for Fnatic, thanks to that previous tower dive. But as it stands, KOO are grouped around the middle. They may be tapping on Fnatic's mid-outer turrets.
So we see the same for KOO Tigers as we saw against KT. When it comes to river control, they have very few wards normally in the river itself. Now they finally move out and get some around the Baron. But Fnatic has been able to control that element of the map. And that's what you use to move between the lanes very quickly. KOO Tigers had enough though to spot Febiven and come down to the bottom side before and react to the tower dive. And now again they have these pings, at least towards the top side, where Smeb is trying now to be a split pusher with 4 kills on river.
I'm happy to see the game playing out exactly as picks and bans dictated. almost a kill a minute. Very dramatic team fights, and Reckless just takes a major chunk. KOO's had that rod stacking for 5 minutes, got himself another needlessly large as well, and now has backup coming through the river. Fnatic gonna be a little bit careful. KOO can chase.
No turret there either.
Riptide's gonna at least slow Gorilla. Depth charge will knock KOO up in the air. Reckless slicing Maelstrom is not even gonna do anything, but Febiven and Rainover have arrived. It's a 3v3, but Reckless has already been killed. Prey's gonna hop and skip forward, look for another. Febiven's got himself a kill, and Rainover is left for dead. Huni's in the jungle, but Smeb was following him. And Rainover's luckily tanky enough, thanks to those 4 kills, to actually get away.
Seems to me that Fnatic only has one thing in mind right now, and that's just keep moving forward and keep looking for very, very risky plays. They could see KOO Tigers move down the river with these wards all the way down and stayed really far up the bottom lane, had to then run when it was too late against the Castellan, who will keep chasing you, by the way. That could have gone horribly wrong once again for Fnatic.
This game is now incredibly close, and we know that both teams have great tools to start fights and are willing to do so. As Quickshot said, 1 kill per minute. The Dragon is the next choice, yet at the time right now, Huni is top lane trying to shove in lane while KOO Tigers is starting this Dragon. This is actually pretty uncontestable for Fnatic.
There will be another advantage to KOO, so another game where we see KOO maybe a little slow out the gates. You can argue their team composition was a big reason for that today, but they find a way to punish opponents' mistakes. Look at the top wards that Fnatic are placing, though. We need to see how valuable these become in the next few minutes, because we know how Fnatic, and actually most European teams, like to play around those early Barons. Yesterday, Origin did it to SKT.
And we just see the good and the bad about Fnatic and the way they like to play the game here at Worlds. With how aggressive they want to be constantly taking these fights, it's too much from time to time. They're not respecting what KOO Tigers can do as a defense, and that's why KOO Tigers, despite falling so far behind, again, are getting slowly but surely back in the game. One difference though, Reckless on this cannon has been shut down in the lane, but he is a utility AD carry. His damage is never going to be the thing that's going to carry Fnatic. If he can get a good ulti off in a fight, he can still be useful.
Did not see a good ulti when he was caught down.
Well, he's been running away because he's always been overextending.
So let's see if the rest of Fnatic can pull themselves together. Huni is going to take at least a hit or 2 there from Smeb. Spirit of Dread gives him some HP back. He's got that Frozen Art working towards a Trinity Force as well. And as we've mentioned, these teams are not particularly great at killing towers. So they're going to be looking for another engage, another fight. Summoner spells available basically across the board with the exception of Febiven. So we're going to see another explosive fight, Jeff.
So much of this is going to be about KOO versus Febiven. We have a 5-0 Febiven with Death Cap, but also Kassadin late game can rift in, get a big magic shield, pop the Force Pulse, and then Hourglass and jump away. And it's actually relatively uncounterable for the LeBlanc unless LeBlanc has flank position for the other people in the fight. So Kassadin's kind of a LeBlanc assassin, while LeBlanc is trying to assassinate others.
And Castellan is going to build Athenes as his 3rd item to get that mana back. When he gets a kill on assist, he will obviously restore a high amount of mana also with his W, so he can kind of burn his mana pool when he jumps around with his ulti to maximize that damage in the late game, and he can get it back, then he gets this mini reset basically by getting a kill on assist where he gets enough mana to use another fully stacked ulti from him. So late game Kassadin, if he gets to run crazy and get the first kill into second kill, can really win a team fight.
We're starting to get signals that this game might go to later than expected, considering the team comps. Kassadin and Kalista are going to scale really well comparison to their counterparts, but what about the two teams as wholes? Like, who do we prefer? Is this gold lead for Fnatic enough, considering their team comp?
This gold lead definitely isn't that safe against the Kassadin on the other side, but it's still a substantial goal lead. KOO Tigers, with their low wave clear composition, risk being run over since the only thing they can do is fight you when you try to go for their turrets. But because their fight was actually successful, they have prolonged the game, so to speak, but they still haven't made the winning play.
We're going to see 280 carries stick to the mid lane with the Hurricane. They are the best wave player, basically, when it comes to sitting back safely from range. Not looking at the LeBlanc distortion on towards them anyway. She obviously wants to try and hide and create a pick for herself. So the 280 carries are going to sit and just push out mid lane. Because now for Fnatic, the play is going to be around Baron. You want to start setting up this Baron here with pink wards. You want to try and bait KOO Tigers to walk straight into view. And you can get a flank with Huni to start a team fight and instantly try and kill one of these carries for the KOO Tigers.
Got to be very careful, because if KOO have some vision, Hojin on that Zac will be able to engage from a long distance. Fnatic need extra deep wards to prevent a flyby or bounce in.
Fnatic actually has the wrong split push matchups right now. Huni is set to split push against Smeb, and Febiven would want to be against Kuro because you saw Huni had to heavily respect the casting. There's no way he can kill him, but the casting can absolutely poke Huni down.
And that's the problem when Febiven doesn't run teleport, because you now are going to try and threaten Baron, so you need a TP on the bottom side. That can only be Huni, who's taking the one-on-one against the Kassadin. KOO Tigers can freely move Riven and Kassadin around the map and pick whatever matchup they want. So they're very happy right now, keeping like this. It's up to Fnatic then to set up the Baron and try and force a fight and get that flank in from Huni, but they're going to see him recall from the bottom side as well and be like, guys, home guard incoming, be careful.
KOO is currently set up to force a response from Fnatic. At this current juncture, if they were able to continue to set Kassadin down, pick up as much farm as he wants against the Hecarim, he'll scale up until he gets his Athenes, maybe even some boots on top of that, hit 40% CDR on Kassadin and level 16, and have his Rift Walk up every 1.6 seconds. So they're completely okay with that. Meanwhile, Fnatic will have to force Baron to stop that, which sets up another opportunity for KOO Tigers that is favorable.
And KOO Tigers knows everything that's going on. So what you see is Prey. It's a small thing, but he keeps always overextending almost in the mid lane to fast push this wave here to force Fnatic to always have a guy defending. Mid control is so key when it comes to setting up Baron. And there's always either Hojin or Gorilla just right behind him for security. He's there in case something happens. Allow Prey to keep pushing. But we might see a fight, and here's the flank.
Well, we do. Huni's found Prey. Prey's gone. Hojin wants to bounce, but it's going to need to be away. Gorilla will get dropped as well, and Fnatic punish the overextension in the mid lane, and they've peeled back the Baron.
Absolutely ideal from what Fnatic wanted there. They assassinate Prey without even needing Febiven. Now, Zach could do a flyover steal. That's one thing he can do, but it would have to be like he's channeling. Here he comes.
Let's take a look. The elastic slingshot just to bounce away. Smeb has gone back in looking for Yellowstar. Will get stunned by Reckless. That's the third kill of this engage, but they have delayed and cancelled and stopped the Baron.
So Fnatic in the end just get 3 kills. Kuro used teleport from the bottom lane, but instant cancel. Realized we're not going to win this fight, so he had to run all the way up from this bottom side. And Fnatic in the end values playing it probably safe, not risking Hojin, jumping in, trying to get a smite steal, get that 1 kill away. You always gotta respect the Riven also stunning you in a Baron pit.
Yeah, the Baron itself, I think, was well respected by Fnatic, not overly risky. Kuro, man, I know warding over the wall is tough, but Rift Walk, otherwise...
He's stacking it, he's stacking.
He's stacking for the damage. Other than that, though, Fnatic found a really nice counter to KOO's play. They have the walk. They can run a pick composition. So instead of actually doing the Baron, while the split push is setting up, they got the damage onto Alistar, which actually pulled Prey up a little bit because he was wondering if he had to be in range to Fate's Call, and that exposed him to the teleport from Huni. So Fnatic played that really well.
And something we mentioned earlier, how Fnatic keep Kennen in the mid lane, because he's the guy who, you know, you're fine showing Kennen. He can just keep pushing that mid wave. It doesn't matter, he's showing himself. Febin was the guy to push out top and then go into the shadows, disappear. You can always keep top lane under control when you're setting up for Baron because it's the lane right next to Baron, obviously, so it's very easy to push it out. And that was just very smart setup by Fnatic, waiting for that one opportunity to get a flank for Huni. They did. It wasn't communicated by KOO, maybe they were just too far out and couldn't react in time. But now there's no TP for Huni, and that's very important for him and the way Fnatic wants to engage.
Luckily, on the side of KOO, no TPs there either, so the map plays going to get reduced over the next few minutes. As far as Fnatic are concerned, though, it's all about that Baron. As we continue to see, there's some deep vision again in the jungle. Let's see if they can pull KOO towards them.
The Baron is how Fnatic has gained most of their advantages against EDG to an absurd extent. Actually, they had a total goal differential of 35,000 against EDG. 29,000 of that was during Baron power plays. But in this particular juncture, 28 minutes in, Dragon is actually more important and easier. So they're moving towards that side of the map. You can see KOO is respecting it in turn.
Yeah, Fnatic have not got their hands on a single Dragon yet, so that buff will be quite powerful, and denying the movement speed from KOO's team fight is also going to be very impactful.
Fnatic needs to be careful now, though, because KOO just pushed up the bottom lane, and Huni's showing himself.
Poor timing around Dragon.
Yeah, they know where he is. That means KOO can start this Dragon, and the rest of Fnatic, if they push up towards this mid lane, they can get collapsed on.
Yeah, Huni has no TP right here, so I really question that decision from Fnatic. They had the advantage. They should have actually been bullying into the Dragon area and forcing KOO to fight them because Dragon doesn't hit as hard as Baron. So at this stage in the game, you can actually force the Dragon and force KOO to come and fight them, in which case they get the cataclysmic team fight they've been looking for. Instead, they just allow KOO a Dragon for pretty much nothing.
Traditionally, though, European LCS teams maybe to an extent NA LCS teams as well, do not fight around those third or oftentimes fourth dragons. It's waiting until the very last moment and then trying to interrupt it.
I agree. Most of that, though, is when you have a deficit.
Wow! Kuro does get chunked out. Rainova is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Fnatic do not find a kill, and Rainova reading from the amazing style of top lane inner turret.
I was about to say,
Inner turrets are really dangerous.
I saw a Rek'Sai do exactly this yesterday as well, where you're just like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna walk through this tower, it doesn't matter. And instantly you get just jumped on and your team can't help you, really. Rainova has made some good plays in the early game. He often makes a lot of good plays in the early game, but one of the reasons he got the name Game Over in Korea was because once he had all these fantastic early game plays, around 20-25 minutes, he would kind of be too aggressive and just keep trying to force fights and keep trying to set up dives, and he would overextend. Hojin might do the same now, though.
Oh, Hojin, look at his passive pop. That's the Cell division. Fnatic are not together, though. They're waiting for Yellowstar to get up. Huni and Rainova trying to buy time. They've killed themselves. They're zapped, and they're looking for more. Prey is on the retreat. He's got the life steal, though, and with Reckless down, Smeb is going huge. Yellowstar is late to the party. It's a triple kill for Smeb. Kuro jumps over the wall, looking for Febiven and will not find him. 4 for 1 to KOO Tigers.
This is going to be barren for the KOO Tigers. Now, I was about to say before that fight how deceptive this gold lead actually is for Fnatic. Rainover is on a poor scaling Rek'Sai full tank build and was 4,000 of the 6,000 gold advantage for Fnatic. Not to mention, KOO Tigers had 3 dragons to 0, so the 6% attack damage and ability power was all in the side of KOO Tigers. All of that together means the game is actually pretty damn even before you take in the scaling of the champions. They killed the weakest member before this fight, and he really hasn't done much, but they burned a lot of cooldowns to do so. Plus, they didn't have their whole team here when they go in to kill the blob.
Yeah, look at Huni's ulti to try and get that last hit on the Zac is when he only gets Gorilla after. So the carries right now has been untouched until Prey takes this damage, but he can flash out. Now Cassidy is still alive. He has that Athenes to get the mana back whenever he can just jump in and get a kill, and the Riven, of course, jumping in.
And also, 1 exhaust is greater than 3 ignite 35 minutes into the game. We see the use of the exhaust right there. KOO Tigers understands exactly when they can fight based on the cooldowns of the other team. That is one of their greatest strengths. And as soon as Huni used his ultimate on Hecarim on not Kuro and not Prey, it was go time for KOO, and they capitalized.
We see why people praise KOO Tigers for being one of the best team fighting teams, if not the best team fighting team in Korea, because they know exactly what to do here. And Fnatic will look back at this game and say we had a great start, good early plan, we played it really well, but then we just went too crazy with the plays we were trying to make. We group up to try and get 1 kill onto a support, onto a jungler, and that is not enough. That's not okay, because KOO Tigers punish you for that.
Well, KOO have already taken 2 towers during the course of this Baron buff. This inner turret will be the 3rd, and Smeb is down that bottom lane going toe-to-toe with Huni on another potential tower. The gold lead is now completely insignificant at 1,000, and KOO are still using those Baron-empowered minions. Is this going to be the 4th tower in a row here, just falling over like dominoes?
I mean, as far as efficiency of champions plus items as well as dragon bonuses, KOO, I'd give them a pretty big gold lead right here. And we know because of these team compositions, they're fight comps. Fnatic, they only stop these turrets going down if they fight. And if they lose a fight, as they've lost the last 3 or 4 fights, the game is over.
So pressure on Febiven to pull the magic out of his hat. He did it against AHQ in a similar situation after Fnatic had given up the early lead that they had generated. And one big team fight can still swing this either way.
But who will Fnatic focus? QSS on Kalista, and Kalista's not even the important member for KOO Tigers now. Kassadin and Riven are dealing the majority of the damage in these big team fights. You most likely have to just try and take down Smeb. If he goes a little bit too far forward, you jump him instantly and you try and burst him. He's the only guy who can't really defend himself. He has no defensive items, only the shield from the Bloodthirster. He might be the only guy you can just completely one-shot.
So let's see if Fnatic agree. Hojin charging up that elastic slingshot, threatening the dive. Fnatic scatter to minimize the risk. Tower loses 50% of its hit points, and KOO push up to the middle lane. Smeb and Gorilla, both melee, they're underneath. Again, Hojin charges and cancels, backs away. He's got himself some MR, and Febiven unable to find those 2 chains. Hojin walks out.
This game is very heavily looking in the favor of KOO Tigers, and it it is kind of answering a lot of our questions before this tournament. Does KOO Tigers have weaknesses? Yes. Their early game has been giving up so much against these better teams, but they're still able to turn it around. It's not to say that their early game is the right plan. I still think there are several flaws in the way they play the early game, but time and again, they are able to find the windows with massive goal discrepancies and turn these games around.
But the KOO Tigers faced teams like CLG and the Flash Wolves and so on in Group A. They didn't feel like they had to wait for late game to win games. They could challenge them in the laning phase in the early game and had super bloody games. When they face KT and Fnatic, they very clearly respect what they can do in the early game, so they take the more consistent, passive style at first and wait for late game where they want to try and punish them.
I think the game is right here. It depends on how well KOO can flank. Yellowstar already caught out of position.
Yellowstar's going to get dropped here. The rest of Fnatic are simply not nearby. And Yellowstar got his ultimate off, and that was it. Now Smeb, he's looking to flank both Rekkles and Reignover. Rekkles has been able to flash over the walls, being chased down. The Wind Slash will deal enough damage to allow Kuro to kill him. A flash forward into the key strike will allow the stun to connect on Huni, and Huni's now in trouble. Smeb looks for Reignover. All of a sudden, Fnatic are coming apart at the seams, and KOO say, screw the dragon, we'll take the base instead. 30-second death time as they've got themselves one inhibitor already, and will peel backwards, holding the gold lead now. Most likely a dragon on the exit as well.
Definitely gonna get a dragon as well. Huni saved teleport as soon as they realized Yellowstar were completely caught out. Basically nowhere.
Great play by KOO once again. And a mistake from Fnatic.
And this is also why teams pick Cassidy. So much of Cassidy that we've seen at Worlds has been run over in the early game, hasn't been able to keep up.
But Cassidy in this game should have been run over in the early game.
Yep.
They were so far down. Reno had 4 kills on this Rek'Sai. He had done almost everything correct in the early game. They were pushing every single lane. And then the team goes down to that bottom lane and says, hey, let's 5-on-5 dive at like 17 minutes. Even though we had a chance to run away, they went for it. That was the first big fight KOO Tigers won. 4 kills went over to the Kassadin, and suddenly they could respond to everything Fnatic did. And we can also look back at that Baron call for Fnatic. Should they have stuck to the Baron and try and get it? Or was it the right call to peel away and get that 1 kill on Smeb and say that was about it, we want to play it safe?
Or even the third dragon when Fnatic had a large lead and could have forced KOO Tigers into a fight. But now, Reignover, but he is a long ways, and there is no escape.
No, you're not going to get away from Kassadin. Febiven will get in range to at least watch his teammate become game overed.
And Prey is helping.
Well, kill secured, that's what counts. 38 seconds before Reignover can try help his fellow teammates. KOO, they're pushing down the bottom. So Huni with teleport is pushing against those super minions. That will help a little. I still feel like KOO's going to take the base.
They got to give up the second inhibitor.
Love when Zach runs in.
Sometimes the animation doesn't quite work with Zach.
I like this one more.
And he runs. It's very fun. Baron up in 15 seconds. Reignover does have a tunnel up behind where KOO is, and that is what Smeb is going to destroy right now, I think.
So by Reignover taking that red buff, he got 3 wards placed behind. That KOO Tigers might not expect to be there, because they just randomly found Reignover. But they should know there's something behind him at least. They don't know where.
Some respect from KOO when they heard
Fnatic,
the farm alarm.
Fnatic has to win this one. They have to win this fight right here, right now.
There is no margin for error. Febiven's looking for the flank and Huni's looking for prey. Febiven's dropped to half HP and Kuro, he's coming from the Baron pit. He's jumped onto 4 members of Fnatic and so is Hojin. Yellowstar's down. Febiven manages to get the distortion as the onslaught of shadows will send prey back to the shadows. Hojin gets his passive pop. The cell is divided and KOO may be too. That's a double kill for Huni.
Stop the TP.
Pink blobs will get squashed, and Fnatic, they start the Baron. Rekkles is on it. Have Fnatic done it?
Wow, what a bold fight there by Fnatic. This fight it's going to prolong the game. They're not going to win straight off this one because they are down 2 inhibitors, but they get the kills on their priority targets. I can't wait to see that fight again.
KOO Tigers had no idea where the wards were behind them, so they thought they had a safe way to escape. Moving towards that top side, Huni shows up instantly, and the big fight is on. It took such a long time for KOO Tigers to kill anyone in that fight.
Deficio Kennen had Steric's Gate
Yeah, I just
in
realized.
that team fight, and it did proc while he was trying to be assassinated. The ultimate evolution of AD carry builds here at Worlds. But this game is still so interesting. That fight, Febiven had to try so hard not to get assassinated by Kuro, but the cast in LeBlanc was a sideshow to the focus on to Prey. Not to mention, Smeb was pushing a wave, so he was incredibly late to this fight. Look, Smeb has to use a lot of his burst onto Yellow Star.
So that basically wins the fight for Fnatic, that Smeb is so busy on the top side, because what Kuro did was he jumped in and he instant popped Hourglass, so his damage obviously went down. He couldn't do anything while sitting there and had to jump out of the fight as well. Normally you want Kassadin and Riven to dive together. So when Kassadin deals the damage, he pops Hourglass, Riven is there to follow up with her stun and her damage until Kassadin is back out of that Hourglass.
Hooney's
but
in
because
trouble.
they were split up, went wrong. And Hooney now, oh, you're farming very far out.
He also doesn't have mana to use many spells. Whew.
KOO, if they chased, may have been surrounded. Fnatic have got themselves a squad in the river. Now, we know they've got Baron buff. Dragon's up in 2 minutes, and KOO are threatening aspects. Smeb can split push with his TP, and Fnatic have a minute and a half to figure out what they want to do. GA also on Smeb, so even more power to these extended team fights.
Yeah, this is gonna be Fnatic trying to wait out some summoners and hopefully for them start setting up for this dragon. They have to fight for it. They won't have TP ready though from Hooney, so the engage is very, very hard to pull off on their side, but there's no flash for Prey, so they might be able to one-shot him, but you cannot invest too much because Riven and Kassadin are the main damage dealers in these late games fights. You even see Prey building now.
Yeah.
Straight HPs, like, I'm doing my job just by basically having them jump on me,
He
try
actually
and kill me.
sold his QSS for that Giant spell. I think it's because he's mainly been getting killed by Hooney, Rainover, and Reckless, so he actually hasn't been getting hurt by LeBlanc. That is a pretty inefficient purchase as far as Prey is concerned, so that hurts their gold efficiency a little bit. This is Fnatic's moment, though. The trick here is Smeb can answer with TP, and the only way Fnatic makes something out of this push mid lane is if they dive the inhibitor turret. I think they're actually just going for ward control in the Dragon area.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Fnatic got inhib back in the bottom side, so they now have a slow push building up. It's a very big wave that's going to build up. That means they only have to worry about top side.
Yeah.
But again, you have no teleport, so if Hooney leaves, clear that wave, KOO can go straight for Dragon in 30 seconds.
This is a huge worry because the teleport of Hooney is actually not synced up right now, so they're either giving up, and they have to give up basically 1 or 2 inhibitors for the 5th Dragon. Hooney's running over right now. He needs to charge the Dragon Pit immediately.
Fnatic is so far out here. There are wards behind them Smeb can teleport onto if he wants to start the fight, but Hojin also needs to find a way to get the engage off without Fnatic just obviously seeing out there in the open. Hooney's moving over now. Smeb is going back to that top side. Dragon is alive in 5 seconds from now.
This is so huge. Smeb is actually not here at the start of the fight, so if Fnatic were to catch Prey and kill him before the teleport completed, they could win the fight. They are forcing KOO in. Hojin will be able to jump into this pit. This is the fight of the game.
The teleport is coming down for Smeb, and the Dragon
Oh, he stopped
looks
it.
like it will get secured. Picked up by Fnatic, but Febiven is forced away. Smeb will not find the kill, and Febiven jumps in the pit. They've traded AD carry for support, but Febiven's down as well. Reckless needs to survive and tank. The shields are there, but there may not be enough. He's flashed out, and Kuro chases him. That's a triple, looking for more. Hooney's getting run down, and Hooney will not find anything. A quadra for Kuro, and that's the game.
What a game this was. So many massive team fights. It comes up to the apocalyptic moment. Fnatic has to force the Dragon. They do interrupt Hojin, but in using that crowd control, they enable Kuro and the rest of KOO to win the team fight. The death timers are long enough. This should be the game.
Smeb managed to TP in behind Febiven, and he took him out completely. Febiven did no damage in that team fight, and Fnatic, they need him. Late game, KOO Tigers, they deserve this one.
While Nexus turrets are falling, minions have conga lined in, and the cool, calm, collected KOO Tigers will pick up their first victory and are one step closer to an all-Korean final with SKT.
5,000 gold down, 15 minutes into the game. Were the KOO Tigers, but by the end of it, they are up in gold, and ultimately they did the only thing that matters. They killed the Nexus.
They did, and Febiven in that last fight, he did 300 damage on a late game LeBlanc because the flank from Smeb came in. He didn't expect it. He got stunned. He got basically taken out of the fight. It lost it for Fnatic, but obviously it wasn't that fight alone. It was everything building up to it because they were down 4 dragons to 0. They had such a good early game. Seemed like there was a clear plan for Fnatic. They punished that greedy Kassadin-Zac combo that can't do anything around the mid lane until we start getting these 5-on-5 very aggressive tower dives, where KOO Tigers always had teleport ready. They saw Fnatic move down, and it was like there was only one way for Fnatic. That was just keep going forward. We just have to go for this dive now.
A little too eager maybe in terms of their team comp and feeling that gold lead